The Justice Department is investigating whether this man, Democratic fundraiser John Wong, tried to sell political influence to the Chinese government through political contributions to the Democratic Party.
Obviously, it would be a very serious matter for the United States if any country were to attempt to funnel funds to one of our political parties for any reason whatever.
Welcome back to AM Joy. Back in the late 90s, one of the biggest scandals to hit the Democratic Party was known as Chinagate, the alleged effort by China to buy into the U.S. election by directing campaign contributions to the DNC. Cue the Republican outrage that ensued.
There have been allegations of money laundering. There have been allegations of undue and improper illegal foreign participation in our electoral process.
Yet today, in the midst of Russiagate, knowing that the president's son met with a Kremlin-connected lawyer and a former Russian intelligence officer, and who knows who else during the campaign, what are we getting from the GOP? Mostly shrug emojis. And joining me now is Anand Giridharadas, MSNBC political analyst and NYU visiting scholar, Richard Painter, law professor and the former chief White House ethics lawyer under President George W. Bush, and Democratic strategist Simon Rosenberg. Thank you very much for being here. And Anand, you tweeted out something this week that actually kind of inspired the segment, honestly, where you asked, where is Red America's patriotism? Never has it been more necessary. What did you mean?
I kind of have a theory about the different sides of a country do for each other. We often don't think of each other as doing something collaborative. But if you think about there being Red America and Blue America or left and right, I think part of what we do is watch different flanks. And we actually outsource the job of watching certain things to the other. So the left is better, Blue America is better at policing equality and just making sure that's okay. And actually, we all sort of value equality, but we kind of outsource that to the left, caring for the meekest. The thing that we outsource to the right, that in a way even the left depends on the right to watch over, is patriotism, national integrity, the security, the strength of our military. And we, all Americans value that, but we kind of ask the right to, you specialize in that. And so when this country is the victim of a cyber attack, when one of the most hostile foreign nations attacks our democracy, it's an amazing, ripe moment for everything the right has been preparing for. This is your moment. This is the moment to step up and be patriotic and fight for our security. This is the moment to turn it to action. And so it is a profoundly disappointing thing when our kind of Paul Revere, looking out at that scene, says nothing. Doesn't cry out, doesn't warn us, and in fact just shrugs.
And in fact just does, we have a little mashup of some of the responses, including from the Speaker of the House, to your very point. These are some of the responses that we've heard to this amazing news about this latest Russia meeting. Here are some Republican responses.
Do I think it's appropriate? I think I probably would have done the same thing. I mean, it's opposition research, and anybody that's been in an election, you're always looking to get the upper hand. And if somebody comes to us and says, "Hey, we've got information on an opponent," yeah, I think that's an appropriate thing to do.
Was it illegal? Is it a material reality that what they did was wrong? It was illegal? I think we'll get to the facts on that.
I supported Bob Mueller being appointed special counsel, and I think we need to let him and his team and our investigators here do their jobs and follow these leads wherever they may lay and follow wherever they may go and follow the facts.
Richard Painter, you've been very vocal about the fact that your party, that the Republican Party, that response is inadequate. Why? Is this just pure partisanship? There's a Republican in the White House. We have to defend him no matter what he does. It doesn't matter. What do you think is at work here in the failure of Republicans to have that sort of, this is the party of now nationalism. Where is the nationalism?
Well, the Republicans I think you're talking about are a lot of the politicians and then the various talking heads who show up on the TV shows. But ordinary Republicans, at least out where I live in Minnesota and many parts of the country, aren't stupid and know what's going on here. I mean, how many KGB agents and former KGB do you have to have in a room for there to be collusion? It's obvious there was collusion, and just having Kellyanne Conway stand on the White House lawn with some silly signs isn't going to change that. And this isn't about left versus right. This is about right versus wrong. This is about the independence of our own country and our electoral process. And I think every American needs to stand up against this type of thing. And I have to say, if we caught the American Communist Party doing this kind of thing, and maybe they were, but if they'd been caught, we would have had them locked up during the Cold War period. And we have statutes to deal with this. It is treasonous conduct. We don't need the treason provision of the Constitution, which would apply in wartime when we have a declared war. But we have dealt with this type of conduct before, whether it's through espionage statutes, computer hacking statutes, false statement statutes, campaign finance laws. And indeed, I have to say, this is a meeting that even if you had it with an American group, a 501c4 or another independent American group, you would probably be violating campaign finance laws through coordination. And that's actually the legal term usually used in campaign finance. You do not coordinate with outside groups. You turn these meetings down. You have to, or it could be regarded as a campaign contribution in violation of the campaign finance laws. I'm shocked this happened and that people are defending it. This is going to be a very, very bad situation for the Republican Party if we don't get our act together and face facts and put a stop to the lies.
I mean, and yet, you know, Simon, I think back to the 90s and all of the things that Republicans were apoplectic about. I mean, they impeached Bill Clinton over his affair with Monica Lewinsky. It started with the Whitewater deal and went on from there. There was all this outrage over them supposedly selling the Lincoln bedroom. Do you remember that scandal where you had John McCain saying they took it to a level the American people find almost disgusting. The president misled the American people, said Representative Dan Burton of Indiana, who was the chairman of a House oversight panel. There was all this apoplexy over almost anything that the Clintons did, and yet now we literally have Republicans, those who are willing to come on the air, and essentially saying that they too, Ted Yoho, Republican of Florida, said he too would take a meeting with a lawyer being represented as coming from the Republican government. You wrote a piece this week in which you said the RNC needs to step up and prevent, you know, future incursions to our election. Why would you even think that's possible if they're not willing to condemn this conduct?
Well, I think it's really important to recognize that what's different from the 90s and now is that the entire Republican leadership is complicit in what happened in the hack in 2016, right? You had the RNC, Reince Priebus and Sean Spicer sending out emails every day promoting Russian disinformation that they knew was from Russia, and they aided and embedded the campaign. My own view is that Sean Spicer and Reince Priebus got their jobs in the White House because they were so instrumental in helping make the Russian campaign a success. The same is true with Paul Ryan and the House Republicans. They used the materials in House race after House race after House race. So all of these Republican leaders were complicit in the actual action of the Russian government in 2016. And so they're defending their president because they were part of the crime. And this is why this scandal is so wide-reaching and why, you know, if you look at Bob Bauer's great piece about the concept of aiding and abetting, right, it is clear that Sean Spicer, Reince Priebus, Paul Ryan, others who are part of the RCCC are all liable for the aiding and abetting statute and could be prosecuted and go to jail. So I think that part of the reason there is such a wide-held defense is that the entire Republican Party was in on the crime in 2016, and they're defending themselves.
Is that it? Is this just complicity at work?
You know, I think all of those points are really right. I just want to add, you know, we're talking about this is a matter of legal compliance, but it's not just a matter of legal compliance alone. If I could be in a room, and maybe in a sense I am right now, with those Republicans who are complicit, I would say, regardless of what you think of the law, you may be a grandparent now, or you may be a grandparent someday. Your grandkids will ask you what you did. Maybe there's some argument about what this is now. I guarantee you, if you have any sense of history, 50 years from now, everybody will think this was a bad thing to have happened.
Yeah.
And they will sit on your lap and they will ask you, and you will have to have an answer. And right now, that entire party leadership is unprepared to answer their grandchildren.
Well, I mean, I think more than that. I think that they are prepared to aggressively move in Donald Trump's direction in terms of his views on Russia. I want to play really quickly Tucker Carlson. This was an extraordinary interview with Max Boot, who we have on a lot, in which part of what he has been arguing is that because the United States was willing to collaborate with Joseph Stalin against the Nazis, therefore we should be fine with really moving aggressively in the direction of cooperation and collaboration with Russia writ large. Just do more of it. This is Tucker Carlson and Max Boot.
right now you are supporting Donald Trump, even, and you're laughing about the fact that Russia is interfering in our election process. That, to me, is immoral. Okay, what's your advice, Tucker? Should we collaborate with Russia in committing war crimes in Syria? Is that your advice in furthering Iranian hegemony over Syria, a country that is dedicated to death to America? Is that your advice at the moment? We do not share common goals with Russia because Russia is trying to further the murderous Bashar Assad regime. They are trying to further Iranian hegemony in Syria. That is not our goal. Iran believes in death to Israel. They believe in death to America. We should not be cooperating.
Richard Painter, I'm going to give you the last word on this. What do you make of the fact that not only is there an excusing of the Russian interference in the election, but now there is this new line that's being run by some members of the Trump campaign, as well as by people like Tucker Carlson, that we ought to actively collaborate with the Russians after what they did in our election?
Well, I think it's a very, very dangerous line to pursue. Russia's been trying to destabilize Western democracies for 100 years, at least since the 1917 Russian Revolution. What this is about is excusing the conduct of these people who will do anything to win. And I try to teach my kids this in sports. You fight hard, you want to win, but you don't cheat. You don't go and hurt the other players. It's very important that we understand that this type of betrayal is not acceptable just because they did it in order to win. And that's all they cared about, was winning this election for Donald Trump at any cost, including any cost to the United States. Yeah, it's terrible.
I agree with Anand that history is going to judge this extremely harshly, I think. Anand Giridharadas, Richard Painter, Simon Rosenberg, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And for more on the latest Trump revelations, you can check out my new Daily Beast column. So this is what American greatness really looks like. And coming up in our next hour, Senate Republicans are this close to passing a bill that could strip health care from 23 million Americans without so much as a debate. And the one and only Phil Donahue joins us live. But up next, Donald Trump turns to God.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.